atmosphere. Just, we love Matt. We love Matt. Oh, hello, everybody. We are now on the air. Hi, I'm James Lott Jr. This is the GH Spotlight 40th anniversary edition for Luke and Laura's wedding. I'm James Lott Jr. We're brought back. She's been on the show several times, this time solo. We're just laughing about that right now. It's Miss Kat from 10th Floor GH. Hi, Miss Katz.
Hi there, everybody.
Yes.
Hi.
I love it. Okay.
Matt's not with me because he wasn't alive when they got married.
You what? Isn't that crazy? I call his friends too. I'm like, well, you weren't alive yet. I'm like, that. I feel like we're colleagues. I'm like, no, you weren't alive yet. So that's great talk. So, but I was, she was, and that's what we're going to talk about a little bit. But first, of course, General Hospital, GH Spotlight is on all streaming services, of course, and on my channel, JLJ Media. Go ahead and subscribe. That button's down there somewhere. Like and say hi, and pass it on. You make this show my #1 show on my network, so thank you so much. I appreciate it. And shout out to Frank Moran, who also, I don't think he was alive when it was out either, so I didn't ask him to be on the show. So it'll be us folks who are there talking about it. I want to show something first before we get into it, and Kat doesn't notice either. I've had this since the early 80s. It's a promotional bag they put out. Look what's happening on General Hospital. It's so retro, isn't it?
That's awesome. That's very 80s.
Very 80s. So I've held on to this all these years, and I should use it at some point. I don't know, like it smells like the 80s. But it's really cute.
Aren't you grateful you didn't get rid of it?
There's a few things I've kept over the years. I'm used to getting rid of stuff, but a few things I'm glad I'm a soap person. I can't help it. So, folks, Candace Mack, she was in her mother's belly, she says. Thanks, Candace. Oh, my God. And Jackson, okay, Max and her mom are on. They say, hi, Miss Kat. That's our girls. We're like,
hi.
Boy. Love them. Kristen Marie, Dolores, Deborah. Oh, yeah, folks are in. Thanks, folks. But, yeah, anyway, so I have this. I'll post pictures on my social media so you can see it up close. It's a little fun artifact. Okay, so little facts before we get into some kind of conversation. It was 40 years ago today and yesterday that they aired the largest, still to this day, highest rated hour of television of a daytime drama in American soap opera history, The Wedding of Luke and Laura, the aftermath, the wedding, the reception, Elizabeth Taylor coming up, about all that. That was up to big 30 million people. Kat and I were two of them that actually watched it live.
Yeah.
No videotape. There was no DVR. There was no TiVo. There was no VCR stuff to take. It was nothing. We had to watch it live.
Yes.
Live. So, Kat, I want to ask you first. Do you remember the excitement of this wedding coming? Do you remember that?
Oh my gosh, yes, I remember. That's what everybody talked about. It kind of like even the people that weren't interested in soap operas were interested in soap operas for that.
Yes, they got national nighttime coverage. It was the cover of Newsweek and Time Magazine because there were two weddings that year that were really big, and no Kat knows this one too because I was up at 3 a.m. watching it. My sister, my mom, was Princess Diana and Prince Charles got married the same year.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And they were not any more popular than Luke and Laura were.
No, Luke and Laura, they were big. Luke and Laura were big. I mean, they were on the run. We had all Ice Princess stuff. I mean, there was a whole bunch of stuff going on that they were swept in. And so, you folks in the chat room, if you've seen it live, tell us some of your stories, and I'll read them out loud. Somebody read them out live. So I know for me, Kat, I was in school. And it was funny because I remember we knew it was coming. We knew that the date was coming. And actually, this is such old school stuff. It was the 80s. It was almost acceptable that we were going to miss class to watch it, and that the teachers were all like, I remember the teachers were all going to the break room. Like it was almost like school almost shut down basically because everyone was going to watch this wedding. So I know for you, where were you? And what were you doing when you were getting ready for this wedding?
Well, the previous November, I had just gotten married myself.
Oh, okay. In November. Oh, so
yes.
Okay, yes.
So I was a newlywed, and we were in our very first apartment. And I was working at night and I was sleeping during the day, and I set an alarm to get up to make sure that I didn't miss Luke and Laura's wedding. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go have, with my friends and have a little party to watch it like I know a lot of people did. There was like, Luke and Laura wedding parties, I remember. Nothing like that, but I was very, very excited to watch it. I mean, I just never missed a minute of it. Never missed a minute of it. And I rewatched it today. Have you rewatched it recently?
I would say about 3 or 4 months ago, I looked at it on YouTube.
Okay.
It's a lot of stuff happens afterwards. And it was a big, we'll get to that. So for me, we went to my friend's house across the street from school. There's about 12 of us, and we all sat there and watched the wedding together on this little TV. We all watched it together. Some people in the chat room were saying they heard teachers were playing it in class. Kaz Mack said, I remember when Princess Diana sent a gift to ABC because she loved Luke and Laura.
I tell you.
And also Diana's son later, Harry, married Meghan. Meghan Markle was on GH. What part did she play? I don't remember that. Let me know what she played on there. Dolores says, I was working as a young girl at Cedars. Oh, Cedars Sinai. I took my lunch and went to stay at the lounge with a bunch of others. And then met afterwards 10 close college friends for lunch and talked about it. Back when you talked water cooler talk, back when we talked about things.
Yes.
Yes. That's kind of, so thanks you guys for sharing those memories of getting ready to watch it. She played a nurse in a small scene. I don't think, Kat, did you know that the Princess Meghan Markle, or Duchess, wherever she is, played a small scene as a nurse on GH? I didn't know that.
No, I did not know that.
I didn't know that. I knew she was in Suits, but before that, I didn't.
I know she had done some TV, but no, I didn't know that.
Me either. So I learned something new. Thanks, guys. See, Chad will tell me all kind of stuff. I love that. I didn't know that. Okay, so this wedding went on for 2 days. It was lots of pomp and circumstance. It was completely. Remember, it was so 80s. I was just when you looked at it today. Was it funny? You saw the hair. What did you think about all the hair? Do it remind you of your wedding?
No, not really, because I don't know. My wedding was subdued. We had a wedding and a reception, but it was just subdued. It was just so funny today when I watched it because it was like a hoedown.
Yes. It was outdoors. It was outdoors. An outdoor wedding.
Yes, at the Merrick Mansion, right?
Yes,
at the Merrick Mansion.
Yeah.
So I rewatched it today because, of course, I remember watching it and remembering being so excited to see it and all the hoopla coming up to it and everything. I remember all of that, but I didn't remember the episode that well. I remember Laura's like slightly parted mouth that never stopped.
That's hilarious. Oh my God.
But I didn't remember details of it. So I was glad I rewatched it today.
Well, it's funny because I never realized back then. I know it now later. And I've interviewed Jeannie Francis, so I love her. She's great. I got a chance to interview her years ago. Anthony Geary was so much older than her in real life. I didn't realize how much older he's like in his 30s. She was like 19. And she was going through this whole because it was a world. So, folks, in 81, you had both of those weddings. You had Who Shot JR on Dallas. That was huge. And so I remember all of those. I was like, those are all big deals. And Dynasty premiered. But those are all big soap deals for us. But I just know that I didn't realize till later how the age difference was, kind of. And of course, so Kat, I want to know how you feel about this, because it's before we even get into the actual what happened at the wedding. What led up to it started with the rape of Laura, which they called a seduction at the time. So what do you think about that? I mean, it could be done today. Like that not today at all. But when you look back on that, Kat, I mean, as a woman especially too, how do you feel about that?
I don't think it struck me all that hard back at the time.
No, it didn't. I remember no one. Yeah.
It didn't, and it didn't. I didn't have any private thoughts about it either. Other than society kind of ignored it, but I kind of ignored it as well. Mm-hmm. And because of that, I don't recall it all that much. I know it was at the disco, yes. And it was kind of like he didn't ask for permission; he just did it. But it wasn't like screaming and hollering and a violent.
They didn't show anything.
Violent rape, but he did not ask her for permission.
No,
He did not.
no, he did not. I just know back then they wrote it off as a seduction and tried to play it. Later on, of course, they addressed it later when Lucky came around and Lucky Elizabeth, that whole thing years later. But I just remember that it was kind of slouched off, like because they were so popular, and I mean, you really understand they were huge. They had chemistry, they had magic. I mean, it's like this guy might say again, it could be done today, but you know.
And everybody wanted Luke and Laura to be together.
Right. Well, he thought he was going to die. That was the whole thing. He thought he was going to die. He told her to leave, and she didn't leave. Not saying it, obviously it's not her fault, but I'm just saying that's the whole thing. That's his whole thing was kind of like, and people were kind of agree with you, Kat. It's like at the time, no one was offended by it. Everybody was so swept in it. It's such an interesting, psychological.
And when they went back to it and not really shown those scenes, but they've done little scenes around it, and the disco music, and it looks way more ominous in those scenes post than it did at the time.
Yeah, I agree with you. Just it's something that if we're going to talk about this wedding, I know how to bring it up a little bit. I think it's just such a weird thing. It's one of those things that, again, it was for a time period, couldn't be done today at all. But again, so people understand, because people bring it up. Well, like we all know what happened, but it's kind of like they still had this major chemistry, and people are complicated. That's about life, right? Nothing's just black or white. People are complicated, and they found their way to each other, and it worked for a long time, and the chemistry was great, and the rest is their history. So before anybody screams at me, I make sure I brought it up when we bring it up. So yeah, so thing. But the wedding itself. So everybody was in it. It was all the peaches and pink, whatever the colors. What were the color? I'm not saying the colors, all the dress on the bride.
Everything was like a dusty, rosy, pinky color. Yeah. It was very 80s.
Very 80s. The hair.
80s.
Feathered.
The hair, yeah. And Laura's dress and her headpiece was very, very ornate. And Laura and Luke had tails on.
Yes. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He did. And he had the curly perm, which he's known for, the curly perm.
He sure did.
Isn't that crazy? He had a fro.
I noticed today the fashion and the way people looked really looked like the 80s. But the actual scenes and the music didn't.
No. Interesting.
Because they did a square dance. It was just weird.
They did. I know they did. Isn't that funny? They did. I mean, it's like they were. It was retro, but it was set in the
and you're right. First dance was a instrumental waltz.
Yes. The first. That's the first dance. Yes. That. It's so funny how they chose all that. Like because it was Luke and Laura, they were really big, and I guess they decided, okay, we're going to make the women's choice at the time, Gloria Monty on the other side, to make it like. I wonder why they chose that.
Yeah.
Because it was like, because you think it was something a little different. But the excitement also happens because, and this especially like I do, Elizabeth Taylor showing up as Helena Cassadine, putting a curse on them.
And I didn't remember how stunningly beautiful she looked.
Ooh, I know, that turban looks so good.
She looks so beautiful. And oh yeah.
So folks, if you don't realize this, everyone was like, the wedding was very Southern. Yeah, the wedding was very Southern looking. Yeah, it was. And I'm weird. I mean, they live in Port Charles, New York. I mean, they live in New York, upstate New York. So why was it Southern? Yeah, whatever.
It was odd in that way.
Yes. For Lucas, Lorenzo, Spencer, and Laura Baldwin. Yes. But no, it's funny to say anything else like that. But yeah, it's I'm gonna blink all of a sudden. We were going to say something. I'm gonna blink all of a sudden. I hear when that happens. But Luke and Laura are about, we're about to get married. They are there. The vows are these are big ornate vows. They're saying all these big vows and everything. Helena Cassadine comes, does the curse. And I thought, for folks out there, Helena Cassadine, Elizabeth Taylor was a star. Like she was, old world, old Hollywood star.
She's a movie star.
Movie star, complete. I loved her in National Velvet all the way through to Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf and all those. The fact she went on TV on a soap opera. That was a big deal. That
Well,
remember
I
they
heard she was
didn't.
digging on Tony Geary at the time. That was part of the reason why she did it.
That's that. Well, he says he's never fully given an answer. Yes, she had the violet eyes. She didn't have the answer, but he did insinuate they were friendly.
Yes.
I believe it. Why not? Well, he was a hot young man, and she, why not?
The world was loving him then.
They were. They
right?
were. Everybody wanted Luke. Everybody wanted Luke. I mean, that perm and all. They wanted it. For me, it's just very interesting because, again, soap operas were considered like, cheese. And in fact, she came on. It helped legitimize this wedding also. It was a big deal to have Elizabeth Taylor come on. And she stayed on for a while. So Lena Katzfine, she came. Oh my God, your son is on. Hi, Matthew. He goes, hi, Mom.
Oh, hi. I asked him if he was gonna listen to us and watch us. He said, of course.
Yes, it's solo. She's solo tonight. That's right. But Elizabeth Taylor in A Place in the Sun, her most stunning look. It's a good movie too. It's a good one. Butterfield 8, another good one. But I'm just saying, people understand who are newer, who watch this, who are newer and watch us talking. It wasn't commonplace for it. Now we have celebrities who've come on soaps and they've done it now, but that just wasn't commonplace back then. The soap operas were just separate kind of thing.
I think she was probably the first one.
I think she was the first one too. I think Joan Crawford did an episode of Secret Storm back in the day, but that was
she did because her daughter was on it.
Yes. And that was it. I think that was it. But like you said, they weren't doing that. It wasn't like I'm going to soap opera. That just didn't really happen.
No.
So that was a big announcement and became the whole cast line. That lasted a whole storyline. To this day, there are cast lines to this day going on, all the way down to Spencer. And I was just saying, how many cast lines are left, Kat? We got what? Molly, Christina, Sam,
Alexis.
Valentine
winds up being a Cassadine after all, right?
After all. So him and Charlotte. So Charlotte.
Victor.
Oh, Nicholas. Hello, Nicholas. Oh, come on, Nicholas.
Nicholas, yeah.
I think that's it, right? I think it's only that are around right now. Yeah.
I think they're going to pull a Cassadine out of their hat soon. I do.
They might. They just might, right? They just
because they keep on insinuating there's a level above Uncle Victor that he's reporting to someone.
That's right.
So I think that very well could be a Cassadine. They take him in and out of the freezer like nothing.
Oh, easily. Oh, yeah, they frost Cassadines all the time. Stavros and Stefan. I mean, anybody. Would it be funny if Stefan came back? I know that Stephen Nichols is doing his stuff on Days of Our Lives right now, but it would be fun if we brought him back. It'd be interesting. Carol Burnett on All My Children. Yeah, but Carol Burnett wasn't a huge movie star. She was a huge TV star. Still, I mean, Elizabeth Taylor was really an international movie star.
Yeah, worldwide. She's recognized around the world.
Yes, so I think I'm saying slightly different, but yeah, but there have been guest stars and things like that. And Carol Burnett loved All My Children, so I know that for a fact. But we love her. But I used to love the Carol Burnett show. I used to watch it all the time. That's another story, another show. But we'll get back to that. I love TV from the 70s. Let me start it. But that's so anyway. So that cast line thing continues to this day, of course. And then there's a return of a character who's on the show right now, played by the same guy all these years, Mr. Ken Shriner. It was Scotty catching the bouquet. Yeah, I remember that was a shock because he was off the show. It was a total shock. Yep.
And then they had a fight after because Luke jumped off the balcony. Luke jumped off the balcony and jumped on him.
He had a beard and he was all.
He sure did.
Up there. I remember going, oh my God, it's Scotty! Like he's back because he loved Laura, and basically, essentially, Laura's love went to Luke, and that's why they've never liked each other ever since.
Is that Ken's only break from General Hospital?
He went to Port Charles for a while. I think that's kind of remind me. So there was still a couple of breaks, but that was the first one because he did a show called Rituals. And it was
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was short-lived soap opera. He did that, but I know that. But he was gone. He was off the show, and that was a big thing. And so the folks who don't remember that, of course, Luke and Laura were the young couple. They actually started to rebuild the show because of them. Because the show was actually famously last in the ratings. And Gloria Monty just thought, like, let us retool this. And Luke and Laura, Luke and Laura they started the whole thing, but it started out with, I think, Scotty and Laura being the kind of young lovers. He's the law student, she was a young girl, and then Luke came to town because Bobby brought him. Bobby Spencer, our girl, Jackie Seaman.
Yep.
Yeah, she brought her brother Luke to mess them up or whatever, and then
Yep, she brought her brother Luke in to break up.
Yes.
Scotty and Laura, because she wanted Scotty.
Not Scotty.
Yeah. I noted, and I remembered how handsome young Ken Shriner was. I mean, he's not a slouch now, but now he's like Matt does. He's Scotty. He wasn't Scotty then, right?
I know he's kind of turned. I know I love him, but you're right. No shade to him, but he has turned into kind of Scotty. He turned into kind of he does these things. He just kind of like exactly. That's what he does.
Yeah,
I love him. Trust me, I love him.
He turned himself into a character, and that's okay because I love him too.
Me too. Ken Shriner was so hot then. She catches in the same thing. He was hot then. Yes, he was hot back then.
Yeah,
He's still hot, but he was hot back then. But yeah, he was completely. He was just the young. He was in love with Laura. Didn't work out, and so he came back, and that was a big deal. That they got to a big fight. And it was like this. It was fun to see two men fighting over a lady, and it's like a little intrigue, little drama. But I just thought it was. I remember that being a shock. Going, he's back. Oh my God, he's back. That's crazy. He's back. I can't believe that.
Yeah, it was one of the interesting thing I noticed today rewatching it in the reception.
Yeah.
The reception was out in the courtyard. There was a lot of extras there.
A lot.
They seemed so giddy that it would almost seem like they were fans that were invited to do this. They were just too genuinely giddy. I don't know. It just struck me today when I was watching it.
Well, I'm sure. I read some things where it took. It was a lot of hours to do this. When they did big weddings back then, it would take all day, sometimes it's a night. It was. I'm sure. I've been on sets where it was a lot of hours too. It was a lot of hours to do this. But it was well produced. When you look at it, it's well done. Like I said, the shots. The backdrop, the background, the dialogue. It was all well done.
It was very well done. Though rewatching it today, it was a little bit hokey.
I'm sure. I'm
and
sure.
They took off in an antique vehicle that looked like Beverly Hills Billy, and then and then it backfired twice as they drove away.
Oh my God. Now, folks, Beverly Hillbillies was the #1 show in the country for like 6 years. So we're laughing, but that show was huge in the 60s. It was huge. Candace Beck says she goes to Kat. I heard that the people were real fans of the show, heard about the filming of the wedding. So there you go. So you're very observant then. You saw that.
Yeah, I did. It just struck me because I was trying to just like take it all in, rewatching it today. You know.
Yeah. That's so funny. So I guess that's probably what happened. And back then they could do big weddings like that. They don't do them anymore. They don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
At all.
It was an interesting time in my life because the previous November I'd gotten married, and then that Luke and Laura, and the very next November I had my first baby.
So November is your year.
I guess it's my month, right? I guess.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Wow.
Yeah, and that baby will be 39 on Friday.
Well, I guess that makes sense, right? This is 40. That makes sense. Oh my goodness, that is crazy.
Yeah, Matt's older brother.
That's so funny. Somebody in the chat room says, I remember everybody skipped school because called in sick for work to see the wedding. Yes, films 55555. AJ Junior 72, the gorgeous wedding. It's dated. I'm sure it's dated. It is dated. It's a timestamp. It's a timestamp.
Oh my gosh! And rewatch it. The quality of it is horrendous. Rewatching it, as far as the film quality. I'm not talking about the actual episode.
Yeah. Different technology back then, kids. Different technology, different everything. Then of course, so when I heard it was the 40th year, I was like, wow, time really flies. Like, I mean, I couldn't believe it at first. I know every year they bring it up, of course. I mean, it's always a big thing. But 1982 babies are amazing. Okay, Candace. Oh yes, hey, birthday cat son. But but it's just funny, man. Like the time, you and I have lived long enough that we can say 40 years ago, we sat not on a computer. There were no computers. We sat in front of a television screen and watched. You and I from different places in the world watched the same program.
Yeah, it was just and it was right at the cusp when everything changed, and you did have a VCR. Remember, you could have VHS or Beta.
I had a Beta machine. It was a top loading one. It was huge. Everything back there was made huge. I had a huge TV console, but it was you had to load it from the top, push that. It was a smaller tape. Yep. They said that Beta was actually better quality than VHS, but it didn't last. VHS is the one that stayed.
Yeah, I remember going into the video store in the right when VCRs came about, and you'd have a Beta side of the video store, and you'd have a VHS side.
Yes,
rentals.
and I was one of the few people, because we had a black box. One of the few folks on my block back then. You had to see. Cat knows what's going on. We had a box, so we got a few channels. We had Showtime, Z Channel, and a few others. We got MTV came out that year, and we got MTV. And so I had that. So my friends when we watched it because there was only like 10 videos they had at a time, and they play them over and over again. We had that, and so you're right. I mean, I should remember when you wanted to watch TV, you all got together and you watched these shows together. And so that's just gone now. I just think younger folks will never understand what that's like, will they?
No, I think that kind of family time is I'm not saying that nobody does it. I'm sure. I think they do it for occasions like we're going to watch a movie, but they don't watch it like TV. You know what I mean? Just regular old programming. We got to hurry up because Brady Bunch starts at 8.
Right. All right. And that's the thing. It was Brady Bunch, Partridge Family at 8:30. No, but I mean, that was the whole thing. I mean, that was the whole thing was kind of like, we used to watch MASH and all these shows, but it was like we all watched them together. I used to watch Dallas. I used to watch Dynasty. It was all, you sat in front of us to watch soap. We'd watch and we'd just sit in front of TV and we'd watch it all together. And then we'd go to bed or whatever. And that was it. And it's like, I mean, it's like there wasn't this thing like, I'll catch it tomorrow, I'll catch it later. Mm-hmm. That was gone. There was no binging. It was all you had to watch or you missed it. Yeah. There was no repeating. I mean, every once in a while there may be a repeat. But a lot of time, a rerun. Sorry, we called it rerun back then. So
you could watch it twice in a season.
Yeah, and that was it. But it was like every day you had to either be home or you missed it.
Yeah,
I can't remember. I mean, it's just so weird. I can't remember that anymore. It's like
when I was a little girl, if I stayed home from school, was sick or something, I remember old sitcoms being on in the mornings. Like Bewitched was on in the morning. Old Dick Van Dyke was on in the morning. Stuff that wasn't prime time anymore.
Yeah, Father Knows Best. I used to watch that in the mornings. Yeah. To Beaver. I mean, there were all these shows we watched in the mornings. We getting ready for school. So I mean, I think it's Stacey Flowers. I think some people think people still do for a certain show like This Is Us. I don't know. Like I said, I'm sure that there are folks who do watch TV together, I guess on some level, but I think not the same magnitude as we did back in the day. It was very much the world. I remember when the Cosby Show came out, and every Thursday, 8:00, everybody I knew was watching them. Don't call on the phone. Don't bother us for that half hour. We were all watching Cosby Show, and then you would talk about it afterwards. Like someone said in the chat room earlier, then after, or go to work the next day or school the next day, and you talked about it. Like, you see what happened last night on like, it was a big deal. It's like, it was a collective experience.
The last show I remember having those kind of conversations about at work after was like Dynasty, Dallas, and maybe the Connors. I mean, back when it was Roseanne.
Oh yeah, I would love Roseanne. I was gonna say, but I would also add, did you watch Desperate Housewives?
Matthew and I watched every single episode of Desperate Housewives together. Every single episode.
Okay, I would say that's the last time I remember where everybody was talking about it. In terms of soaps, everybody was like, the next day we're all talking about what happened with Susan, and everybody like, oh my god, and Bree and everybody, and Lynette.
Maybe Lost though, maybe Lost as well.
They lost another one. Another one. I mean, in terms of like everybody, 'cause I'm not gonna count cable shows because not everybody had cable. I would say True Blood and all those, right? But not everybody had cable. I mean, so but in terms of regular TV, that's what those were the shows. Yeah, Lost. Everybody talked about like what I just watched, like what would happen? Why is there the black smoke and where's the polar bear and all? I remember all that stuff on Lost also. So I think, but back in the day when it came to General Hospital, you had to watch it when it was on.
You sure did.
And that was just that.
It was just so popular. Just in the world, it was just so popular.
I remember that the summers were big because all of us were out of school. So the summers they would have ramp up the storylines even more so, and everybody could watch
the young love, right?
Yes, the young love. They still try it. It doesn't always work, but they still try it. I mean, I will say, folks, someone mentioned this in the chat room. I love me some Trina. That's my favorite new characters. I think she's such a phenomenal actress, and lights have ever seen her and Spencer. It's a classic opposites.
Yes,
coming together.
It's really, really working.
It is working. Is that funny? Again, it's working.
Really, really working, and I'm impressed with young Nicholas Chavez.
Me too. I wasn't sure about my first, but he really is holding his own, especially with Maura West. And when I was people were like legends. I mean, with Maurice Bernard, these scenes that we had with Uncle Sonny visiting him at Kelly's. Of course, we're doing our after show this Sunday. I mean, they'll be doing their show. I mean, what their show. But just saying that it's the young kids. It came from that time period, and the summers were where they wanted to attract all the kids from school. They do these storylines that involve the young love, the young lust, the young girls, the people on the run. All my children had Jenny and Greg, and they had Jesse and Angie, and then others said Guy Light had the Four Musketeers, and every show had their own set. But I would say Luke and Laura were the first super couple after maybe Doug and Julie on Days of Our Lives. I feel like this couple was such a huge international sensation that it was everywhere. I mean, it was everywhere.
But I remember I really, really, and this is years and years later, I really loved Lucky and Liz.
Oh yeah.
When they were in the height, when they had a boxcar and they went out into the field to that little chapel. They found the little chapel and they had a wedding, but that's not really a wedding because there's no one there.
Yes.
Well, I loved it. It was endearing. I loved it.
Well, the thing is, they again with them, they took the Laura Luke thing and kind of made it with them, and had Elizabeth raped and had Lucky find her. Mm-hmm. That was genius, actually, to have him find her and then find out my father raped my mother. I mean, there's some scenes you go on YouTube. There's a scene with Laura and Lucky. Jonathan Jackson to me will always be the premier Lucky, and Jeannie Francis. They have a scene that's just so powerful that it's like, and she's just like, I'm not going to explain myself. She's like, I mean, life was how it was. It was what it was. But I like the juxtaposition that they got, and then Lucky and Liz became young love. They fell in love. He protected her. She was an artist. She was an artist. Recently, we saw her art skills again. I love that we revisited that.
Oh, I did too. I love that.
Artist. She used to draw. She used to paint. That's how her and Jason got together. She used to paint and draw. So it was kind of nice that they went back to that again, and she could draw the sketch. And Lucky, he loved her. He loved her, and she loved him. And I'm sad they've screwed the character of Lucky somehow. The Spencers to me have gotten screwed. That's just how I feel. I just feel like they messed up the mood. There's nobody, I mean, the only Spencer left is Carly. If you think about it, she's a Spencer. I mean, that's the only one's like, her. And Bobby occasionally.
Yeah.
They don't bring her on much either. I'm like, it's like the Spencers are great. I mean, they should be, because they were the wild cards. They kind of did what they wanted. I mean, I would love some old Spencer cast line stuff. I miss those days. I miss that stuff. Laura in the middle, and they're fighting between the sons. I miss all that. I miss it.
Yeah, I do too. I think Jeannie will be back pretty soon, right? Next few days.
Yeah. She's doing the Tony Geary thing where she's like, I go on vacation and I'm gone for months. But she'll be back. And she's missed. When she's not on the show,
I can't
I love
wait for her to come back and get a hold of Spencer.
Ooh, I know it's gonna be good. No, seriously, when Grandma is gonna get in there, it's gonna tear his ass up. That's
Yes,
right.
she's it. She tears him down and makes him see just like Trina does, but in a
Yes.
different kind of, but a different plane. But
Oh
she
yeah.
does like no BS, no BS, no.
Oh, Laura's gonna go off on him. She's gonna go off on Nicholas.
Yep.
She's gonna go on both of them. She's gonna tell them both about themselves. So she's gonna totally just like, yeah. Because I want to get that off camera. So I go, that's off camera. Let's see Mama Laura come back to town.
Oh, that's what I want to see too. I want to see.
It's
I
gonna
think
be
we see
good.
too much.
Good.
I think we see too much juicy stuff off camera.
Yeah. Yes. These are yes, Josh. Yeah, well, Josh is a Spencer too. She does kind of act like a Spencer. That's true. Jocelyn is a Spencer. That's right. Her and Michael and Carly. They're like, and Bobby. They're the Spencers.
Yeah.
And Wiley. Can't forget Wiley.
Yeah. We just don't have any. We don't have any. There's no other branches of it. It seems.
I agree.
Yeah. There's no. And the elders aren't there.
Yeah, I agree. And there's no. And Valerie disappeared. Well, she was a Spencer too, but she's somewhere. I don't know where she is. On a police force somewhere, doing whatever she's doing. So I totally get it. But I just want to come on, and I invited Kat to come on. Thanks for doing this. But I just want to come on, kind of give a little shout out to the 40th anniversary of Luke and Laura and their wedding. And thanks for doing this with me, Miss Kat. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for inviting me. I enjoyed it very much. I always love to talk about General Hospital. I
know you do. So I just messaged you like, sure, I'll do it, James. You're like, what are we talking about? Okay, let's take it fine. It's General Hospital related, but 10th Floor GH is their podcast. Make sure you go follow them and listen to what they're talking about over there. It's a great dynamic between Matt and Kat. They're talking about General Hospital every week, like we do. Where you get your podcast, go check it out. That's where they are. Do that, and of course, me and Frank are on here on Sundays, being shady and everything, talking about General Hospital, and we'll be shady as F on Sunday, I'm sure. Even though I like Gladys and he doesn't, who cares? We talk about it all the time.
Oh, you know what? I've been thinking about Frank. I think about Frank all the time because Gladys is so heavy right now, right?
I know.
Frank it's so Gladys heavy right now. I've been thinking about Frank.
So I want to give a shout out to Bonnie Burrows, who plays Gladys. She and I are becoming friendly, and she watches our show. She's like, Frank is hilarious. So Frank, I know, is dying this week because she's on every day, basically, and it makes me happy. So yes.
Well, Bonnie, you've got to listen to Matt because he does an impersonation of you, and it's quite funny.
Bonnie, okay, if you watch the show, 10th Floor GH. I didn't know Matt did that. That's so funny. So go to Matt. He'll see your impression because Bonnie's a great sport. She's one of us. She's a great sport. So I really like her a lot. But she watches it. She talks about Frank too. But for poor Frank Moran, my co-star, follow us of course on GH on our Facebook page. Everyone, please take care of yourselves, each other. Continue to watch General Hospital. It's on ABC daytime.